Hey all, pretty quick video for anybody who's still interested in this little project. So as of 2 days ago, my 85 LeBaron GTS has a fully functioning brake system. In my last video, I showed how to do the front calipers, and that went really easily. But things got appreciably more difficult the farther back to the car I got. I shot a few video clips that I'll include in this video, but I was totally running the struggle bus for most of this. So the first thing I discovered that was unusual for me was that on this car, the rear wheels are drums, but it uses a spindle configuration. And what that means is that the hub and the drum are one unit, they come off as one unit. And the hub and the drum are pressed together, held together with fluted studs. So I brought the drum assemblies down to my workshop. As you can see, I'm preparing them for paint to try to give them a chance of surviving in our northern climate. But what threw me for a loop with these, and you classic car experts know what I'm about to say, I expected the drum to simply come off the hub as it does with a modern car, and that was not the case here. What I've come to learn is that the drum and the hub are permanently fastened to each other. So fortunately for me, these drums are in really excellent condition, and my mechanic was able to take them to his shop, put them on his brake lathe, and resurface these, only taking off a few thousandths of an inch in the process. And he also commented on how cleanly and smoothly these drums cut compared to the more modern ones he deals with, where there's a lot of chatter. And that's simply because the quality of the steel apparently in the 80s that was used for these is much higher than what you can buy today. No surprise, right guys? So once I get these painted, I'm going to take them back out to the car and I'm going to continue working on getting these rear brakes done. Once I got the drum brake hardware replaced, I discovered that the parking brake cable on the passenger side was seized in its sheath. So I had to replace that portion of the parking brake cable. It goes from right about here to the back wheel. That was a serious challenge because of the spring pressure involved, trying to get the new parking brake cable fastened to the assembly in the drum that activates the parking brake. So I was totally riding the struggle bus on that. So once I got done with that, I had to deal with the soft lines. And on this car, the rear soft lines are right about here. And I have a short video clip that I'll show you later about that. But on both sides of the car, they are very difficult to get to. I'm on the passenger side of the car. That faces forward. Here's one end of the brake line. Right next to it is the fuel filter and the two fuel lines for that. There's the other end of the brake line, and in front of it is the parking brake. So there's a bracket that goes all the way around the parking brake and bolts right here into the frame with a 10mm. And that's what holds that end of the brake line. So the best way to do this is disconnect the hard line here, disconnect the hard line there. Make sure you remove that clip so that hose comes off. Then unbolt the bracket and take the bracket off with the hose still attached to it. Then you can replace the hose on this side and get the clip in there, then put it back in the reverse. Don't tighten up this bracket completely, leave it loose so that you can wiggle this around to get the hard line started, and then tighten it up. So on the driver's side, we're faced with a similar but more difficult situation. So the old hose is still in here. Here's one end of it, like that was on the other car. And we also have our bracket, which you can see here. And the other end of our hose, can you see it way up there? You can see where the hard line attaches right here. Right here is where the muffler runs. So to get access to this, you basically have to take the muffler out. You can try to get a wrench on that, but good luck with that. So fortunately for me, or unfortunately, this muffler was rotten, so I was able to pull this out. It wasn't that difficult. But now I have some room to get a wrench in here to get this hardline off. I got that done, and I got these brakes done, and I'm like, okay, now I just have to bleed them, and I'm good to go. And I couldn't get any fluid out of any of the tires, no matter what I did. And it turns out that the master cylinder was bad. I took one of the hard lines off the master cylinder, and I pumped the brakes, and nothing came out. So I had to put on a new master cylinder. So I thought, that's going to solve my problem. So had the new master cylinder on, tried to bleed the brakes. I still wasn't getting anything. And I messed around it for quite a while, tried a bunch of different things, and eventually I got fluid out of two wheels, the left front and the right rear. And that's when I discovered the fun of what's called the combination valve. So on this car and several other cars of this vintage, you have what's called a proportioning valve. On these Chryslers, you have what's called the combination valve because it does two different things. First, it varies the amount of pressure going to the front and rear brakes so that the car comes to a controlled stop under any braking condition. So whether or not you're pressing the brakes softly to come to a gentle stop, or you're slamming on those brakes to avoid an accident, the proportioning valve makes sure that the car brakes in a controlled fashion. But the other thing that it does is that it has the ability to sense when there's a loss of pressure in the system. Now, like any modern car with a dual chamber master cylinder, you have two braking circuits. And on this car, the left front and right rear is one circuit, and the right front and left rear is a second circuit. And in the combination valve, there's a shuttle. And if it senses there's a loss of pressure in one of those circuits, that shuttle slides to the side, blocks off the faulty circuit, and sends all the brake pressure to the other circuit so that you can continue to brake safely. And what had happened over the course of time is that shuttle got stuck in one position so that I was only getting fluid out of two of the wheels. And of course, the combination valve is located right underneath the master cylinder in a virtually inaccessible location. But what I was able to do is reach at it from underneath the car, and took a small hammer and started tapping on the combination valve, and that freed up that shuttle so that it recentered itself into its neutral position, and then I started getting fluid out of the other wheels. And so I was able to bleed the brakes completely, and now I have a completely working braking system. So next steps for the car is I have to replace all these soft fuel lines, which should be a pretty easy process. I'll show that. And then I have to work on repairing the exhaust system, because from about here back it was all rotted. And as you can see, the old muffler is sitting there. I have a new muffler and some pipes that came with the car, and I'm going to attempt to fix this myself. So thanks for checking in, and look forward to the next video when hopefully I've got more of this car done. Because once the fuel line is done, and once the muffler exhaust system is fixed, then I can actually start the car and drive it around the yard, which I'm looking forward to. So thanks for checking out the video, and I'll see you later.